pretty old. It's huge, so old, so beautiful. We're gonna go over there, build the greatest Trump hotels ever with my SPAC. We're just gonna go buy up all of Syracuse. But yeah, I was just driving home, dropping my kids off at school. I mean, I wish they weren't going to school, but kind of is what it is with the ex-wife. And all of a sudden I hear on the radio, I was actually listening to like a hip hop station driving home, trying to listen. I think it was like, some Drake sexy. And all of a sudden I come back and I hear them talking about supply chain shortages. And meanwhile, these are obviously not economists, but then, they're couching this as, oh, this is just such a great sign because, record demand for all these products and it's just, a temper and basically, trying to say it's like transitory inflation. But again, this is on the hip hop station. This is not on like some regular station. And it just, kind of like, I think like ties into like what we want to talk about today. And I was just looking at some of the numbers and it actually looks like the inflation numbers today were actually, pretty much right on par, if not worse than in like at the height of the 70s. Cause I always hear, oh, well, at least it's not as bad as the 70s. And, I was actually taking a look at it and I actually think it is. So on screen over here, we see, basically 1970, just kind of eyeballing this. For anyone who's like listening to this right now, we do have it on screen and, it's roughly right around 6%, throughout the year because it breaks it down by month. 1971, again, eyeballing this, probably roughly 4.5%. 1972, that one was, a good year, probably roughly about 3%.
Well, it's after it felt good because they went off the gold standard.
Yeah, that was in 71. So 73, eyeballing it, probably about closer to 6%. 74, it's really ratcheting up there, probably closer to like 11%, really kind of like about the height of it. 1975, about 10%. 76, about 6%. 77, 6%. 78, about 7%. 79, about probably about 10, 11, depending on how you're looking at that. Now, if we head over to shadowstats.com, because what they did is, obviously you guys know this, but they have changed how they calculate these numbers. I wrote a whole book on it called How It's Rigged. And I believe somewhere on my website, there's different lead magnets that can get you the guys that book that I wrote like 5 years ago. It's a booklet. It's not really a book. I mean, it's like probably 20 pages long. But anyways, taking a look at how they calculated inflation back in 1990s, we're already at 9%, which was basically, like 1 year it was like 10 and another year was 11, but there's no sign of this letting up anytime soon. But the thing is, that's how they calculated it in the 90s. Now, if you go back to how they calculated it in the 80s, we're already at just eyeballing this is like 13%, which is worse than pretty much any time that we had in during the 70s. Now, obviously it was probably gamed back then too, and it was a little bit worse in about 1980, and we're catching up there very fast. And this is only the very beginning of it, because you're going to see people, like, what happens during inflation is people are realizing there's certain goods that aren't there. I mean, obviously with all the supply chain stuff, then people are going to start hoarding those goods, or at least the smart people will, because I'm sure a lot of people don't want to be stuck without toilet paper again. A lot of people don't want to be stuck without other basic goods. And it's just, and then so as people,
or just meat. Like I just bought like 2 months worth of meat, by the way, because of inflation. So right there.
I mean, they're trying to classify meat now as like a luxury good here, going forward. And, it's all going to be tying into, going green and all the sustainability, which, I'm all for being sustainable and not, polluting the environment. But obviously, that's not what any of this stuff's about. And some of our listeners have gotten more, like on my other, walk and talks, have gotten mad that I haven't dived into each one of these subjects. Well, if I don't have time to dive into how they are rigging the inflation numbers, I've done videos on that. I've got a whole book on that. You can go sign up for the lead magnets, read the entire book on that. A lot of these subjects are, we've already done videos on these subjects. And so if we spent time to jump down every single rabbit hole, every single episode would be 20 hours long. Like, it just would never end. And most of these never could end. And we got tons of stuff to talk about today too. But we've got, basically the US, slow walking into World War III with Taiwan. We've got, Bitcoin crashing right now all the way down to 60,000. And yesterday's, crash down to 63,000. I'm saying this, with air quotes for anyone listening, was actually because a guy like fat fingered and sold, I think it was like 582 Bitcoin for like under $10,000 of either some algorithm or someone doing it accidentally. And then, so there's some people out there who are able to pick up Bitcoin for, under, $10,000. But, that is one of the dangers of if you had, stop limit orders or stop loss orders, is that, you could have been stopped out and sold your Bitcoin at 8,000 during that happening. So I'd never have stop loss. I mean, maybe it's right for you. I don't think it's the best way to do that, but sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, no, it's so important to mention this. Now I kind of forgot what I was gonna say again, but
you were talking about the meat, and then shortages and trying to people stocking up.
Yeah, I think it like pertains to the inflation whole thing. We initially we were talking about it's transitory. Like both you and me were out there saying that this is not transitory, guys. Like this is serious stuff. And of course, like looking at the numbers, how manipulated they are. I've done similar things like you have with the Canadian CPI numbers, and here, they were calculating 25 point something percent. That was the total cost of all your real estate related costs. Like the living taxes, mortgage, and all that stuff. Meanwhile, you look at real reports from the banks, they're saying 75 to 80% in the two major cities. And you know what? Like suddenly now they just bumped it up 4% this year. Just surprise, surprise, but it's nowhere even near, what the actual real inflation is for 60% of the population. So no, this is nothing good. And when really big inflation hits, the worst is that people are going to do like what I just did, bought a whole bunch of meat, or you just buy supplies, right? And money is starting to chase, the actual goods and services. And what you get is what called the velocity is actually starting to move. And when the velocity comes back because everybody's had some savings now, didn't have to pay their mortgage or their debt or anything. So people had some free money, and that is flowing into goods and services now because they're seeing prices rising. And that could cause a shock in inflation from the velocity. So all the money is moving into the economy, chasing the same, goods and services. And what that could do is it could cause an accidental hyperinflation of some sorts, where people just panic because they see and people are on, really struggling already. And then you get like a 10-20% jump in food prices. That could cause a horrible shock, which is, the velocity is caused by psychology, basically, where people just panic and start buying. And then everybody can't get rid of their currency fast enough to buy stuff because they're afraid of, prices rising.
So the key is you've got to panic. You've got to panic before everybody else panics. And so so you should be doing stuff right now. Like I have probably 200 rolls of toilet paper just in case. And I have actually been during like this crisis 2 years ago, manufactured crisis in February 2020, I went and bought a bidet. So I'm like, you know what? Screw everyone with the toilet paper. Like at least with the bidet, it's like something. I mean, I personally thought that was a very smart idea. And, and I just yesterday I ordered an Amazon, like a 14-gallon, like sort of like if you're going to go boating, you would take out like a big, like portable gas tank thing, and it's got the wheels. And so I just ordered that. And I mean, just, kind of getting into a calamity of, errors that I've had with my new truck is I had, like when I first got it, you had the air ride suspension went out. So boom, that's like $2,000, some engine mount. Then the alternator went out, then the transmission just went out. And then I finally get the car back from the transmission. And then all of a sudden I get there's two nails in my tire. And I'm like, great. And then meanwhile, like I had lost my wallet the entire time. And I thought that the wallet was in the car, and I looked everywhere for it. Couldn't find the wallet. So I was without a wallet for a week. But luckily I had taken some money out of the bank, right before that. So I had some cash on hand, which, makes me like a terrorist over here, paying for things in cash. And then, so I finally like cave, and I go and I, order new credit cards, order new IDs, and then order a new wallet. Then as soon as I do that, I find my wallet that's, buried on my desk somewhere, like underneath a bunch of papers. But, where I was going with that is after I finally get back from the transmission and all that stuff, not having a car for a week, I then, decide to go get some gas, and I go to the local gas station, and there's no fucking gas at the gas station. I'm like, thanks, Joe Biden. They don't, I mean, obviously they're all puppets and fighting over puppets, but I'm like, I've never seen, no gas underneath Trump. I've never seen like, at least, and again, this is not about Trump. He's just a puppet. He helped Operation Warp Speed. We don't need to get into all that crap, but I'm like,
Tim,
there's no
Tim,
gas.
the question is this just law of attraction, a self-fulfilling prophecy for you, or is it actually a supply shortage? That's the big question of the day.
It seemed like there was gas everywhere, like at all the other stations. At this
Yeah.
one, the one like in my neighborhood just happened not to have
Yeah.
any. And luckily, I had already had gas stored up. And then if you are storing gas, you want to make sure you're not, storing it in like plastic bags, like some idiots that were doing when you got any of these hurricanes
Plastic
going on.
bags.
And then you also, want to add like fuel stabilizer onto that too. So that's, I think, another good, prep people should have is, fuel stabilizer. And so, I do have, so now, homeboy is not going to be without gas. And so luckily I had gas at my house. So not luckily, I mean, I was smart enough to already have that there. So I just, could use some of that until I filled up. And you should, go through and rotate all that stuff. But, we have seen there's other articles. I don't have them up right here. Maybe, Zach can overlay this, but, I've seen a lot of talk that Biden now is not, not able to go through with all the tax hikes for the rich. So instead, they're just going to do all the tax hikes for the poor. Because what's the biggest basically tax hike you can get on the poor? That is inflation. That is the biggest tax.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're poor and all of a sudden, your meat costs 10% more or 20% more, or don't worry, because I think, and this would be another great clip if Zach could potentially overlay this, but there is that one clip that we've played in the past where Biden's economist is like, oh, if you don't take into account like meat and poultry and eggs and, a lot of other shit that people buy at the grocery store, then the food price inflation is actually not that bad. I know we've played that before in the past, and this was actually stunning.
Like, yeah, it comes down to what's that guy's name that we're removing a whole bunch. Was he at the Federal Treasury back in the day, removing a ton of different things? I think during the 70s, they were just removing whatever they could find, that would be a problem with inflation. And I think we're back at or was it the 30s even?
Well, there's that, and then there's substitution where it's like, oh, hey, you used to buy steak and now you're buying hot dogs, putting the price of hot dogs.
Shrinkflation on top of it, right?
And then they'll shrinkflation on top of the substitution. Oh, sorry, you can't afford the hot dogs, so here's some corn dogs, and oh, sorry, you can't afford the corn dogs. Here's some other chopped up stuff that we're going to put in. If you can't afford
meat, just have Spam. It's good for you.
I think that people that created that, I've actually never had Spam, luckily.
I never tasted it.
But I think the creators of that are in Arizona. And once I sort of got referred to them, and then the whole thing fell through. So I've never met them, but almost did once. So came this close to reaching the Spam dynasty over here. That's because I think they've got like the biggest house in Arizona. But we do see an article here. Goodbye middle class. 50% of all U.S. workers made $34,612.04 or less last year. So, I mean, that is shocking. You have half of Americans, workers, again, these are workers, not even people not even working, made less than $34,612. So, I mean, just imagine how cheap you can buy people off. So if you have, and even right now, like if you have, 3 kids that are, under whatever, 12 years old, you're making like $750 a month just by having 3 kids.
40. Yeah, that's near 40,000 Canadian. Like that's it's not good. Like me and the wife, like we make double that basically each. So it's just appalling. Like it's
I've been there. I mean, I've been there making that. I mean, your first, several years as a financial advisor, you're, basically working any 80 hours a week you want. And I probably made half. First year, I probably, had revenue that was probably 34,000, not even counting expenses, probably the first 3 or 4 years. And then I moved to Arizona, had to start over again, then was rock and rolling at the firm that I was with, but I didn't really agree what they were doing from a, cookie cutter investment standpoint. And so I left them, started over, built that up after 2 years, and then wanted to talk about Bitcoin and wasn't allowed to. So I had to resign in order to follow my passion, what I'm doing now. And then boom, lost it again. And now, I mean, that's basically what I, took in this month, but it's like, I've been there. And, and when you're at that point, you don't have any, discretionary income to buy anything else, every little bit, really does hurt. And I grew up with parents who were 20 years old and 19 when they had me, mom working at Pizza Hut and dad working at a grocery store. So, it's not like I'm some spoiled financial advisor that came from these rich parents. Like, no, that's not the case with me at all. Like it's, tough times, breed strong men. And so it has been the situation. But the problem is, like, when I see this number and what they're doing with people, is that it means that you can buy somebody off with $2,000 a month universal basic income. Like, oh, I can get $2,000 a month to not work. And I forgot to put this article up. I know I had it in our private message.
Look at what they did with Canada with the CERB here. Like, they actually bought people. There's still people like that are tons of people that are not working because of it, because they're better off, not working a minimum wage than working on minimum wage than actually sitting on their ass doing nothing. So there you go. Like, it's just pretty prevalent.
And I wanted to, I found the article. I didn't highlight this, but I saw this yesterday on CNBS. Silicon Valley entrepreneur Sam Altman wants to scan your eyes in exchange for free cryptocurrencies. And basically, they've got some iris scanning technology. It's all part of the Y Combinator that, there's a lot of the Silicon Valley startups. And you've got WorldCoin says it's already attracted 25 million in funding from Silicon Valley investors, including Andreessen Horowitz, Coinbase, and billionaire LinkedIn co-founder Reid Hoffman, giving the firm a $1 billion valuation. And what they want to do is basically scan your irises to get free cryptocurrency, and then use this as a basis to then have like a universal basic income. WorldCoin has already shipped its orb-shaped device to people in 12 countries. Testers get to sign up by having their iris scanned. The image is then encrypted and becomes a unique code, while the original data is deleted to protect users' privacy. Sure it is. Following that, users are given a free share of WorldCoin cryptocurrency, and blah, blah, blah. They care about privacy. So far has amassed 100,000 users globally. And I'm trying to find the part where it talks about, somewhere in here, it does mention something to the effect of, this could be great for universal basic income. And this,
but how are they going to actually, like, the problem with that is, like, is it going to be a fixed supply, or is it just going to be an inflationary currency? Like, if it's an inflationary currency,
they might be talking about the underlying technology could then be used
to actually
so I'm personally very excited about UBI over the long term. Biliana said, I'm not sure if that's one of their I imagine that he's one of the co-founders. It shows WorldCoin co-founders Sam Altman and Alex Blana. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But we see ourselves as building this huge network of people where entrepreneurs can jump in and build applications like this. UBI is one of those, but building big financial global companies is another big one. And so, they're out there telling you that they're going to scan your irises. You've got, Bill Gates, projects with his, you can be walking around and we'll give you free cryptocurrency for doing certain tasks. And of course it's,
there's geolocating ones.
It's patent number that ends in 060606. And it's like not even like the order that it would have been into. So, all this stuff is crazy, but like the point is, if you can buy somebody off for, you can get $2,000 a month to not work, sit in your ass, and you get that tax free versus $34,000 that's taxable, especially if you're self-employed. If you're self-employed and $34,000, that's already hard enough, but then you've got to pay 15.3% FICA taxes, your Social Security and Medicare right off the bat. And then you're paying, probably another like 10%. So it is very, obviously it's going to be like, so you're creating this dependent slave class. You basically have gotten rid of the middle class. Like the middle class is now basically like the upper lower class is probably the, where things are going. And, this is a huge tax increase. So every time they want to, increase the cost of these goods, you are basically you are affecting the poorest people possible. And at this point, the American dream is completely dead. The American dream of, we're going to go home and own a house. And I see an article over here, the American dream is dead and Bitcoin has replaced it. And I think that is absolutely, key over here. And the problem with, a lot of poor people, and again, I grew up poor, didn't, come from money, was, fighting with my brother over, who's going to drink the last soda and things like that. But you shouldn't be drinking soda, and I've given up on soda anyways. But, that's beside, that's when, when I was like 12 years old. But, one of the problems is, and early on, I thought like you had to buy an entire Bitcoin, and, it's probably when Bitcoin was like $100. And again, I was struggling as a financial advisor in the very, very beginning, because, when you're starting off and you're making, 1% of $0 under management, it's a very tough gig. And so, 95% of people don't make it, especially when I started the day Lehman Brothers crashed. So, had a lot of things that, going against me, let's go give all our money to a 22-year-old. But, I did talk about Bitcoin at, $30 to certain people and $300 at some other people, but I didn't realize you could buy a fraction of it. And so, right now you should be out there stacking sats, getting, getting, fractional ownerships of Bitcoin. But, Bitcoin
Yeah.
is digitally scarce, it's divisible. I would argue about the fungibility, because it's saying that a Bitcoin in Canada is no different than one in El Salvador. But, if one was used for nefarious purposes or has been tainted or is already kind of outed who owns it, then, there could be some fungibility problems, at least like in the eyes of the law, whereas privacy coins
Yeah,
don't
but
necessarily have that.
because they do track it right now. So
Yeah, it's low maintenance, it's transparent, it's liquid, it's freedom. And for me, I mean, I was, big into politics and getting into the Ron Paul movement, and we're gonna go change the world that way. And they got all these plans, and I was, hated Hillary, so I, basically did everything I could to attack her, to then help Trump win, but then immediately I was calling out all of his bullshit. And once I started getting shadow banned and censored, I'm like, oh, how can you get around this? Oh, wow. Blockchain technology can actually, improve that. And you can do more than just, trade fake money back and forth. And so, we've already got the answers. I mean, don't just trust us. You got to do your own research on all this stuff. But, Bitcoin, it is a hedge against all the government tyranny. It's a hedge against when they're going to steal all of our money by printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, making our dollar worth less. The dollar has already crashed relative to Bitcoin. When's the dollar going to crash? It's already fucking crashed relative to Bitcoin. I mean, just in, I've been paying attention to it since it was $1, and now it's $60,000. So,
and the thing too is that people don't even think of it this way, like I do, and you do. Like, what if you just price things in Bitcoin? Like, what if you say just F the dollar? Like, who cares about the dollar price of a Bitcoin, right? Like, what can a Bitcoin actually buy you instead of caring about, the actual dollar price? Because that's what everybody's focusing on. And, we've been talking about, and I've been talking about, potentially, like, I think you said 100. I'm, leaning towards 150 to 250 somewhere that it could, jump to at the end of like this.
I would not at all be surprised to have this cycle top out over $200,000. And then for me, I mean, I'm not even looking really even sell unless, I've got some clients, maybe if they're older and they, don't have a bajillion years and don't have the risk tolerance, and maybe they can take out what they put in and then let the rest ride. But you know what, young guy, I've got income, so I don't really need to pull out, those assets in order to, and I'm just looking to bank it. And actually, quick plug over here. We don't do a lot of plugging over here, but we just got, the ability to scale out our crypto IRA program. And so I will be taking, if you guys are listening to this, I will be taking, like right now, like to sign up, it's like $500,000 or more. If you guys have $25,000 or more right now and looking to get crypto into your IRAs, I can do that now in a scalable format. And so, right now on the website, it still says 500,000, but 25,000 and up, I'm willing to do it because, we're kind of use you guys, I don't say like guinea pigs. I mean, we've been going at this for a very, very long time, and it's going to work out okay. But, for Tim and John show listeners, LibertyAdvisor listeners, I will let you guys in on, I haven't really even started advertising this at all yet, but, we do have the ability to have actual crypto into your IRA. So I should have plugged this during, I don't know why I didn't plug this during the SEC, allowing a Bitcoin ETF video. And again, that is the most bullshit way you can possibly own Bitcoin. You're owning a derivative of Bitcoin. So like even the other Bitcoin trust is out there, and I don't want to say the name because, then there's all sorts of regulatory things if I said the name of it. But, it's, initials begins with G and ends with the Bitcoin, acronym, or call sign letters. Yeah. The grayscale one. And so that one is even much better than owning, in my opinion, than owning the ETF version of it. And so, now if they had like an actual ETF that owned actual crypto, I mean, that would be a different story. But, if anything, you should own your own. Yeah, you should own your own Bitcoin. And so, we have the ways now where you guys can own your own Bitcoin, and we're starting off with, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, USDC. And it's not like my decision on what gets put in there. There's all sorts of, it has to do with the exchanges that we are able to get tied into here, and having all the custodialship and having all the I's dotted, T's crossed, and then we've got, and if you did, we're in that $500,000 bracket, then there are some crypto IRA where you can own your own private key solutions that are temporarily we can do now, but Elizabeth Warren is trying to end self IRA LLCs as we know it, but there's gonna be like a 2-year sort of like unwind period. And, and 2 years is a lot in the span of crypto. I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years. So even if you only had it for 2 years, it could be, a very good thing. And, and that is the best. So even if you're making that 34,000, what's put in $50 a month in? I mean, back when I was, again, like I was not always out here rocking and rolling and killing it. And, I think the first purchase I made was like, I think I was doing like $100 a month dollar cost average, and at the time bought me over 1 Ethereum. And so, you just keep, it's not, and then also don't fall into the trap of wanting to buy whatever bullshit crypto is that you can buy the most quantity of it. So that'd be like your Doge coins and your Shibas. And not to say I'm not like, against it or anything, but I see people fall into this trap. And so if you don't have a lot of money to risk, and you don't own any crypto, I mean, I would probably just go with Bitcoin. But I mean, that's not, then if you've got more money, then yeah, you can expand it out. And there's Ethereum and Ethereum competitors that are really, and obviously, getting into, I don't want to be giving like advice on here, but there's different ecosystems of what you can do, whether you're investing into the DEXs, the decentralized exchanges, or whether you're investing into, the Ethereum platform competitors or the privacy coins. But in my opinion, the safest bet is just, Bitcoin if you don't have money to lose. But I think you've got people that don't have money to lose, and they go and they find some, obscure number 5,000 crypto that's out there and try to buy 10 billion of it. And then they end up losing, then they're, all their money. And so, unfortunately, I feel like that's what people do. But that is the hedge in order to, protect yourself against all this, tyranny that's going on. And the governments hate it. The governments do not like the fact that we now have an out. And so here's an article from Zero Hedge, yet again, why governments hate cryptocurrencies. And it goes on to say, how many dollars do you have? Before digging through your pockets, let me save you the trouble. The answer is zero. You have no dollars. The green slips, actually cotton and linen, commonly referred to as dollars, are in reality Federal Reserve notes. A note is a type of negotiable instrument that carries the promise that its owner, the holder, or hodler, the holder will be able to redeem it for, you don't want to hodl those, redeem it for whatever the person that created it, the issuer, has pledged. Federal Reserve notes are not dollars. They are promised to pay their holder. However, many dollars are denotated on the bill. Fiat currencies are useful. Among other things, they allow central banks to engage in quantitative easing by borrowing through the issuance of notes, something that doesn't really exist and therefore never has to be repaid. Dollars, as in the case of the Federal Reserve. And this restoration of the connection between currency and scarce or tangible assets creates competition for government notes that can be printed without limit. Plus, cryptocurrency can be used over the internet without the intermediation of banks, which generally have a monopoly on transactions in government money. This makes it more difficult for authorities to track. Cryptocurrencies are decentralized finance, pose a threat to the confidence-based monetary system underpinning the world. And so, I mean, you can't print more crypto. I mean, obviously you can mine it. And so, this is basically a hedge on the tyranny that's going on right now. And it's kicking up full speed around the world. I mean, you got things like BlockFi that is just, and again, I'm not recommending this, just pointing out that it is something that does exist. And, they are, okay, wow, you can get like 8%, 10%, 6% in some of these platforms versus getting nothing. And now, I mean, Walmart is rolling out Bitcoin ATMs as part of their Coinstar. And even like the local grocery store by me has had this for a couple of years now. Now that I've never actually used it or done this before, but a lot of people, if you can go into your local Walmart and buy Bitcoin, that's going to be, pretty attractive. Now it's only, I think it's like 200 to start off with. And then, but there's just a crap ton of, Walmart stores across America. I'm trying to scan through because I know somewhere on here
there is some great ATMs that I've used that that are no KYC and up to $1,000 a time to just take out or deposit as well. So
yeah, 4,700 stores that there's Walmarts in. So I mean that's pretty crazy. Now, I mean, this kind of all then kind of blends into the news of the Federal Reserve unveils new rules for cracking down on officials trading. And they've got to give 45 days advance notice and all this other stuff.
Crack down on Jerome Powell. Fire.
Yeah, they want to ban policymakers from owning individual stocks, restrict trading following controversy. And the thing is, like, this, all it does is it shifts the window of blame to the fact that the Fed is doing wrong things, when instead of shifting it to the fact that the Fed shouldn't exist and the fact that there is a Fed is the wrong thing. So it's just, and actually look, there's another article in here. Tech millionaire Sam Altman offers free crypto for iScan. Oh yeah, that sounds like a great, like nothing can go wrong with that. So yeah, even on here, it's even, having that in the sidebar of this news article. Let's not skip over that one for right now, unless we've already talked about the other ones. There was another inflation one I think I missed over here, where inflationary storm forces Unilever to raise prices fastest in 7 years. And so, that's definitely a tax on poor people. And rivals such as Nestle warned Wednesday that inflation costs are rising faster than we can roll forward through pricing. Situation has not improved. If anything, we are seeing further downsides compared to what we told you in the summer. The effects of rising consumer prices are extraordinarily disruptive for consumers. It's almost like a tax. No, it is a tax, eroding family budgets that are already stretched thin. The worst,
and you'll get less product through shrinkflation, right? So like they actually like do certain things to the objects, and the things that they actually package things in to make them smaller and give you less for the same price, because the CPI, actually looks at like how much is a bottle of Coke cost. But if that bottle of Coke is just a little bit smaller, that is also an inflation called shrinkflation that you can see.
And they substituted the best ingredient in it. I mean, it doesn't even have cocaine in it anymore either. When at least in like 1890, at least it still had some cocaine in it. And back then, it wasn't even like a Coke problem in the country either. And at one point, when they even outlawed alcohol during Prohibition, marijuana was legal, and then they so at one point you could legally have marijuana while not legally having alcohol.
And other taxes too. Like we're starting to see a lot more taxes in Canada. Actually, I think it was Nova Scotia or something, or Newfoundland, Labrador, that implemented a sugar tax now, because they're trying to go that way to hide that they're actually like, oh, we're caring about you. That's why we're implementing these taxes. It's not because we've spent so much money that we're bankrupt and need to tax you a lot more. No, it's what we're heading towards again, Tim, is a crisis of like historical proportions, and it's going to be interesting to live through that crisis, and it's going to be written about in the history books, because this time it's global, and it's not just like one country that it was in the history. Like,
and what do they do? And what do they do whenever they get into this sort of problem? They always end up going to war. And so, it can't be, can't be just the systemic underlying problems that would have caused this regardless. It has to be, it was the Chinese, or it was the Easter Bunny. Before I was going to interrupt you for once. I didn't. Well, actually, I guess I did kind of interrupt you that time, but it was, you're speaking of like, you'll own nothing. Well, I was actually thinking for Halloween, a great costume would be Santa Claus Schwab. So I just,
Santa Claus.
I'd be like, you're getting nothing, not even any core.
And then now you're getting me ideas, Tim. I'm gonna make Santa Claus on my fake app now, my deep fake app.
It is Santa Claus, and then
it's I don't know how he would say ho, but it would be something very sinister, anyways.
He's very sinister, and he's going to have like Greta sitting on his lap, saying how great.
This is my little pet minion. This is Mini-Me. Little Mini-Me Greta.
She's not even. She's actually just a cyborg hologram and isn't even real. We've been.
Well, she actually was dancing and singing the other day, like We Care Us also.
I think that's
she's trying to look
dancing.
Like she's alive.
Dancing does emit a lot of carbon, so I don't really know. If that's like the greatest.
I breathe a lot, like
I love all these people. I love all these people talking about, we're gonna go and bike to work or bike. I guarantee you will emit more carbon probably biking to work, because then you're gonna have to go eat a crap ton, and then you're gonna have to crap out a crap. There's like it takes a lot more calories and energy to bike yourself somewhere. I mean, granted, if you're going like a mile or something,
and if you live rurally too, like I would have to bike like 80 kilometers a day. Like, yeah, I'll do it. Like for saving the environment, like.
Yeah, like I've biked 200 miles before in one full shot. I mean, I'm at 22 miles an hour.
Did you go to work like when you did that? Like right after you get to work?
I have probably biked like 50 miles in the morning and then gone to work, but I work from home. So, I've been using Zoom since 2015, pretty much primarily, but continuing on with the war theme. I mean, now Biden is out there saying, this is, very kind of quietly, after Biden says U.S. would defend Taiwan from attack, China says there's no room for compromise. Yeah. So, I mean, who is it? Is Biden going to go and we're going to throw his old ass out there? And is he going to be personally defending them from attack? Because, and then who else is going to be left? So, okay, great.
Biden will be the general that leads us all to war.
Maybe all the idiot soldiers who are out there getting, now I will say most of the soldiers have not a lot of them have not gotten it, at least, especially like the Marines and the like SEAL Team
Well,
6.
the new
It's been more
admiral,
advanced.
how about the new admiral? We could send her over there.
I'll send her over there. Yeah, sure. Rachel's gonna go over there and I don't know. I don't even know. I don't need to get this.
No,
I don't even know where I was even going with that. But
no.
was it Rachel Levine? She's gonna be like, "Hey guys, it's quit being so mean over there," and start throwing like a dildo over them or something. I don't know. Like it's just like these days, like what like the military is more concerned about like being woke and like talking about critical race theory and having rainbow flags than they are about like defending the country. I mean, it's just not that there like even is a country anymore, and it's the whole
But
thing.
I think it shows
taken
the
over by
decline
globalism.
it just shows the decline of everything and the decline of the currencies. Like when the currencies decline in value, like the society declines with it, right? Like it's no doubt about that. And then you try to find crazy moronic ideas, like you could get toppling of governments and then get massive totalitarians. Like look at hyperinflation led to Napoleon, it led to Hitler. So you never know what you're going to get on the other side of it. And of course hyperinflation in Venezuela, like the flagship food box program, so everybody can feed themselves because the government destroyed the whole country.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's probably gonna come down to a food thing. It's gonna come down to So I mean, it's great they have precious metals and you have crypto and maybe you have lead and some other stuff. But if you can't eat, then what are you gonna do? And so at this stage of the game, like if there's one thing you want to panic over, it'd be food and water. Like do that now. Like I don't have any programs where I'm selling this or selling that in terms of food. But I think Josh does as like actually I did like one of his like My Patriot Supply referral links the other day and I already had a bunch of sort of food and I'm like, you know what? Not gonna hurt to get another 3 more months. And the thing is, if you can't afford to go get a year, go get a month, maybe like 1 month of food this month and another month or two from now, another month, and then stack it up. And then, if anything,
just stack up like natural food too. Like there's lots of good food that you can store for very long periods of time. Like even vitamins, like vitamin D. My vitamin D lasts for 2 years that I have, and I have a shit ton of it.
I've got the best vitamin D in the world. Trust me. Yeah. It's huge.
I made
huge supply.
It's called vitamin D for the triple dose of Donald.
Getting the triple D. Didn't he just come out? There's like a new like Truth Social SPAC that went up like 100. Didn't it go up like 120% or something?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. Of course, that'll be attacked like massively for being a fascist. Social media site, but
that'd be a SPAC attack.
A SPAC attack.
It's been halted numerous times apparently. Now I'm reading this in real time. Oh, of course, my pop-up blocker doesn't like that. Blah blah blah. Continue the site. Okay. Trump SPAC halted multiple times as stock jumps again in volatile trading. And yeah, I think last time I saw it, it was up more than 100%. Why don't you just tell us how much it was up? Last up nearly 140%. The skyrocketed 216% at one point. Stock surged more than 350% to close Thursday. The stock traded up. I mean, yeah. Why did you say? Okay, this is another blah blah blah. Yeah. So it looks like he's then trying to create his own like Truth social media network. And I think actually they want to. Now I haven't gone on to this. I haven't done any of this, but it seems like they're basing it off like the underlying like Mastodon technology, which I was actually surprised to hear about that because it was Free Talk Live. I first started hearing them talk about Mastodon, probably like in 2017, 2018. And, those guys were also the first ones to talk about Bitcoin on the air as well, like worldwide, like Bitcoin Jesus, Roger Ver found out about Bitcoin through Free Talk Live. And so, I mean, those guys are like way ahead of the curve on lots and lots of different things, which is why you've got the feds going after Ian. So, make sure you guys, help support, people like that. It is the largest, I mean, they're way bigger than us. I mean, they are the largest, basically libertarian radio show in the country. They don't have like a huge, obviously like YouTube and more like video type presence, but in terms of like terrestrial radio, they are like very, very big. And then I'll see like Alec Baldwin says, "My heart is broken after a prop gun he fired kills cinematographer." So this is the motherfucker wanting to ban all the guns. Like, why do you even have movies that have guns in it if you want to fucking ban the guns? And then you have a real gun to then kill somebody, and then you want to ban.
that's his idea of why we need to ban guns, because morons like him can't, handle guns properly, and they kill people with them. Like, when do you ever learn? I've been in the military. I also have like my license that you have to have in Canada for handling guns. There's a procedure of treat every gun as it's damn loaded. Like, what is wrong with this moron? When it comes to, sorry for calling him a moron, but you are when you like,
No,
literally,
you do not need to apologize for calling Alec Baldwin a
no,
moron.
no, but like, just that, like, what are we thinking? Like, come on. So, like, yeah, first of all, it's like, and that's why, like, now it'll probably come out. It's like, yeah, we gotta ban all these guns because of people like me. Like, everybody is like me, and we need to ban them because people can't handle the safety around it.
Well, so I have met one of the Baldwins before. I think it was, of course, it was like one of the not as famous ones was like Billy Baldwin, like because their mom actually
brother,
their mom lives in my hometown. I don't live in anymore, but when like their mom went to my church when I was forced to go to Catholic.
Did you know that? Did you know, by the way, that Syracuse is also a place in old Greek, the Greek Empire? Syracuse was a big town.
It's in Sicily. Yeah, there's Syracuse. Yeah, Syracusa in Sicily. My last name is Sicilian, so yeah, I'm pretty.
But there also during the Greek Empire, there was actually a place there as well called Syracuse, apparently.
Well, was it the same one that's the same Syracuse today that's over in Sicily? So
I don't know. I learned this from what's his name, Doug Casey, who was talking about Syracuse in the old Greek Empire, I think it was.
Yeah, we'll have to, of course, when I just type it in. The first thing that pops up is like fraternities at Syracuse University. But I know that there's, the city is notable for its rich Greek and Roman history. So,
okay, great, yeah. So
the birthplace of Archimedes, who is the preeminent mathematician and engineer. I'm not. I guess I wasn't prepared to talk about Syracusa, Sicilia today. So we'll see. Yeah, 27-year-old city. That's pretty old. It's huge, so old, so beautiful. We're gonna go over there, build the greatest Trump hotels ever. With my SPAC, we're just gonna go buy up all of Syracuse. Speaking of, and then fucking Joe Biden actually went to Syracuse University. So let's go, Brandon. He graduated third from last from the bottom of his class, even though he's putting out different reels saying that
he was third place. Tim, come on, he was third place.
And he did actually, he was advertising how he was like finished at the top of his class. He actually finished at the bottom. He was almost kicked out, I think, 3 different times for plagiarism. And unfortunately he's got a lot of ties to Syracuse. His first wife, who then passed away, and his first child, I think, were in Auburn, which is a sort of like a suburb outside. It's a city unto itself. So shout out to anyone from Auburn, which I really have very little connection to Auburn, but I guess let me know in the comments if anyone happens to be from the area, the Finger Lakes area. It is a very nice area in the summertime, but it is super high tax. I mean, you've got obviously New York City controlling a lot of what's going on from like a political standpoint. Although there is a lot more guns up there, and it is more conservative. But ultimately you are in New York, and so you don't want to be in the empire when the Empire State falls down. So I've got aside from family and just loving the the area in the summertime and the Finger Lakes, beautiful area. And I think even like the Clintons vacation up there in the summertime too. There's like Skinny Atlas Lake is one of the probably most pristine lakes in the country. You got not Cayuga. It's what's Canandaigua Lake. It's closer to Rochester. Though those 2 lakes outside of, I think Tahoe is the most prestigious lake in the country, and then like those 2 are basically like tied for like second and third. They're always like bouncing back and forth in that area. But by and large, most of the area is a shithole, and like all the brain. There's been a huge brain drain when they spend a lot of money on educating people or indoctrinating them, and then a lot of the best and brightest all move out of there. And basically, if you take a look at like all like the top people that I graduated, like all the guys except for one, aside from my friend Chris, almost all of them, unless they've gone to the city, almost all of them have left the area. So like take like all the best and brightest, most talented, all the people that are going places. And actually Chris is looking at getting on there too. Like basically all of them have looked at getting out of there. So, there is no more industry. It's not like it's, 1950s where you can just stay in there and work for one company and get a pension. And so, I mean, there's just not a whole lot going on up there. I mean, I love the air. I mean, yeah, I didn't plan on talking about any of this. Kind of getting back to what we were talking about is, the slow roll, death of America, Santa Claus. And yeah, lots of snow there in Syracuse. So, Santa Claus might be having a great, feeling at home up there. Except there might be like
he
more.
likes it up in snowy places.
There's probably more snow.
Dallas.
There's probably even like more
hills.
snow. There's probably more snow in Syracuse. Or not like right this second, but then even in like the North Pole. Well, actually, the North Pole is like technically like almost like a desert then technically. But Syracuse is the snowiest city over 100,000 people in America. So snowier than Buffalo. And it's not. I hate the snow, so it's not something I'm trying to brag about over here. But but another unknown fact is that Carrier air conditioning originated from Syracuse. And so you have the snowiest city in America responsible for air conditioning. I mean, which then led everybody to move out of there once they could move to warmer places like Phoenix, where Phoenix was the largest, basically the biggest client, demographic area of Carrier was Phoenix. And it's funny that I moved from Syracuse to Phoenix. My grandfather was, one of the top guys at Carrier. So, I mean, it's one of the, but then my grandparents were like, oh, why don't you stay there? I'm like, well, first off, Carrier's not even there anymore. They moved. And so first off, stupid to have, the world's largest air conditioning company based out of the snowiest city in America. I mean, how that happened is just, beyond me, but now we're getting it. Yeah. Still getting off in the crazy stuff. I mean, that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Just all I wanted to talk about, just,
I think Syracuse was right there,
the
but it ended up being at the back, but yeah.
Yeah. The average is about, I'm just doing this off memory, about like 115 inches a year. So people are like, oh, well, Chicago, we get so much snow, and Chicago gets like 38 inches a year. Even like Josh was talking about like Winnipeg, and you guys, I mean,
we get no snow at all in Winnipeg. Like I've been in Oslo where we got like a dump of a meter of snow, like the 3 feet, easily.
Your life. Your life sucks when we're over here just arguing like, no, my weather, my city's weather is shittier. No, my city's weather is shittier. No, we get negative 20, 30, 40 degrees in the wintertime. Yeah. Oh no, but we get negative 20 and we get 120. So it's like Josh and I would always have these conversations over like, no, my place sucks more ass than your place. And then you'd be like, well, so between the, Norway, where you're from,
where I was actually,
where I'm from, and
nice.
where Josh is from, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just talking like in terms of snow, like we're all, but I think it does create like a more hardened, type of individual when you're like literally having to, go and I didn't have a snowblower growing up. My dad had two. My brother and me were his snowblowers, and so having to go and shovel it.
It's funny. I still don't have a snowblower. I could have bought it at any time. I still slow, like literally, like doing my drive.
Well, then my dad bought two snowblowers after my brother. After we moved out of the house, I'm like, oh great, so just in case one of us happened to go down. But yeah, it sucks being in a place like that. I don't even how. But
it is fun to. I love skiing, so like I'm a big skier. Like I suck at running that you're really good at, but I love skiing. Like I could go skiing for like 20, 30 kilometers. I just love it. So that way, like there's different positives and negatives wherever you live, but. And like it all depends on what you like, but it all comes down to how terrible is the government there too. You could live look at how beautiful Norway is, and then you still got like a horrible government, that are destroying. But at least they're open now. Here we're fucking locked down like crazy here, Manitoba right now. Like they're as soon as I show up at a party, the party's over basically because I'm unvaxxed. They could have 100, 200 people at home, but as soon as I show up, they can only have 2 people. It's
that's why it's over. So it's not over because the party's over. I'm here to talk about inflation and money velocity. Ruin your entire vibe and all the happiness that you guys are having.
Well, it might have been the same. Yeah.
I get it. I see. Yeah, I see the 10-year treasury 1.64. I mean, it looks like it was like 1.7.
Well, if you look at the chart, I was just thinking about the chart today of the 10-year treasury. I was just looking at it and look at how manipulated it is, like the perfect, peaks and formations, right? Like you could see the Fed is just buying, right? Like there's not too much like steady, like.
But the Fed has talked about now they're going to, maybe even as early as December, start tapering their balance sheet. So, buying $15 billion less, each month and month to month. And that's going to then, have the interest rates, naturally then go up, or say naturally they've been, manipulated down. So then it's going to go
Yep.
up. And then once we're up around like probably 2.2, and you know what? I want to go ahead and timestamp this because it come back to this like 6 months from now. Once it gets up to like 2.2, 2.3, and the market's down like 15%, then they're gonna, cry uncle. There's gonna be some new whatever, whether it's a new variant or new lockdown or new excuse to then start pumping in more money and manipulating it back down. But I really do think that, we can't even really get close to like that 2% level, because that's like the danger zone. Whereas like 3%.
Well, it was 2.25. Remember 2.20? It was 2.25 last time, right?
That's,
like that they got up to, and then it just collapsed.
I'm talking about this time. That's the Fed funds rate. I'm saying,
sorry, the 10-year. Yeah.
And that was 1.25. I don't even think, I'm talking about the 10-year. I don't even think the 10-year can get to, I mean, at 2%, it's probably going to start getting really bad in the equity markets. 2.25, I mean, it could get out of hand, because it used to be like 5% to 4% to 3%. And now it's like, there's only, it's just like we're like a crack addict that, we just can't handle the withdrawal phase.
I have a 7-year 100 chart. And it's funny, like the interest rate goes like down like this, like diagonally down, and it's at record lows no matter how you put it. And like there's no way out of this. Like they could keep on pushing interest rate. They're gonna have to go to central bank digital currencies, go negative if they're gonna continue with this scam. But like there's no way out of it. It's failing. Like,
yeah, and so
let's not.
Yeah, now this chart, let's see how far back. Okay, now we go. So if you go back to the 70s, I mean, at least, you're getting like actual interest rates. I mean, especially like 79 is going to 7, then it really starts jacking up like in 80s, going up to like 8, and then briefly like about 10% on the 10-year treasury. Whereas now, like we have about the same amount of inflation, potentially even more. It's hard to tell because they, jack with everything, except you're getting 1.6%. And so even if like their stated inflation at 5.5, and then, it's called, basically you're losing 4% per year. If you go off like real numbers, you're probably losing closer to like 8 or 9% per year, especially when if you count it in terms of like opportunity costs. If you had those assets in Bitcoin instead, then it's like hundreds of percent per year, past performance indication of future returns. But they're going to steal all your money, and they're going to steal it. They want to get you on a digital currency, but first they need to save you. They're going to save you with it. And then once they get you hooked on it, then they're going to start yanking away a lot of the positive benefits that you're going to have. And you're going to be a complete controlled slave. And it's very easy to control a poor population. And when the average person makes less than $34,000 a year in America, very fucking easy to control them. And so that is a danger. It's not anything against poor people. And the thing is, like, if you're working some dead end job, you're never going to go anywhere. You're in, if you got like a 3% raise last year, but everything costs 10% more, you're losing 7%. You are going broke, not even slowly, fastly. And you need to find out some sort of side hustle to do something to make residual income. And then have eventually turn your side hustle into your main hustle and do something that you love, especially if you're in something where they can just, got the clot shot, and now we're going to go, basically take away, or you didn't get it, and we're going to take away your job. They took our jabs. We didn't get the jabs. Now they took our jabs, from like a South Park type reference. I mean, that was terrible. But you know what? That was pretty much all I had today. I don't know if we need to make this longer than it has to, because it's probably already gone longer talking about Syracuse and other stuff that people probably don't care about. So shout out to the, let us know. Well, I guess if you are from that area, that'd be cool. But
yeah, I know. Just to wrap it up though, like what we're heading towards is something that it's not going to be pleasant. So if people are not prepared or are preparing right now, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, and you're going to see inflation get a lot higher, I believe, anyways, Tim, because if this like velocity keeps on going, if there's more and more people moving into, buying goods and services, well, mostly goods, it's going to be very problematic. So I don't know if this is like a man-made type of thing, or I think it's just like the collapse of the currency. I don't think even needs to be man-made, to be honest with you. It's just like we're down at a point where we're basically like hovering around zero around the world. But what is happening around the world too is that interest rates in every country that I've been watching, probably like 50% of countries now, have been going upwards. So they're preparing for the US to move upwards as well, and start raising interest rates, because that's how it works. You know, the US like are getting ready to increase interest rates. All the other countries go before, and then they also, like, after the US have, you know, gone down with their interest rate, they actually move down with them. So
Yeah, and only about 10 years too late, you know, raising interest rates. But I guess it better be 10 years too late than I guess it's not better. But all these are gonna be, very positive developments for crypto and Bitcoin. And I would say I do expect, if there was a major financial meltdown, probably have crypto meltdown as well, but then we'll print a whole bunch more money and it'll probably then go back up to even higher than it is today. It's a long-term proposition, not a get rich quick scheme. But anyways, I do appreciate everyone listening today. I've got to go back and do some work so that way I can, increase my income so I can buy up goods now. And if you are holding on to dollars and if there are goods that you need to go out and buy that are like non-perishable, probably the best thing to do is go buy them, hold them now before, you're not able to go buy them. Because eventually then there's probably be calls for, price, ceilings.
You do not want to be caught up like Venezuelans were, or, other people that have been in these monetary crises. It's not fun. And if you're not prepared, if you're not on a farm, or if you don't have food to protect yourself, like, we need food. If you don't have food, you could have all the billions in the world. If you don't have food, you die. So food and water comes first. And then after that, whatever you have left, put it in, wealth preserving assets. That's my opinion anyways. And that's what I'm doing personally. So there we go. Get prepared, guys. It's important.
Peace.